Good evening, everyone. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV, and we're doing something very important tonight. We've got Canto 10 of Inferno, the work by Dante Alighieri from La Divina Commedia, and it's interesting the way these cantos actually develop, because they talk about different types of sins and how they're punished in hell, and then eventually we'll get to Purgatorio and Paradiso. Now, you know, we are in the middle of, we are in the Middle Ages, basically, and Dante is a very erudite person. He has incredible knowledge of past works from the Greek, centuries before, and the Romans. So, and through his passage through hell is accompanied by Virgilio. Now, in this particular canto, we're actually going to meet a couple of people from Firenze who Dante knew them, and of course they recognize him as well, and they ask him about Florence. So Canto 10, it's an important canto because we move away from sort of the past figures that appeared in other people's works, and this time here we go right into the history of Dante's times. And in Firenze there had been wars between warring parties, the Guelphs and the Ghibellini, and also within the Guelphs there were two sides as well. So they were quite violent in order to achieve political power within the city. And in fact, Dante, who was on the Guelph side, on one of the sides, he sort of was asked to go to, because he was an important political person in Firenze, to go to see the Pope and to sort out a few things. But of course, he never came back. He could never come back because the opposing party took over the city, and they literally exiled him for the rest of his life. There was another little chance somewhere in the middle, but then politics played a very sort of a part in that too, and therefore Dante, who died at the age of 56, I think, he must have had a pretty hard life for about 20 years, even longer. And he had children, and his properties were confiscated. So don't know much about Dante, really. His life is quite interesting. And the interesting part of all this is that we need to know a very detailed knowledge of Florence history and the history of Italy in the late 12th century to early 13th century. I'm talking about 1300, so the 13th century, and in between there. Dante was born in 1265 and died in 1321. So that's something that I'll do. The other one, last week, I apologise, I must have put my finger when I was reading my Italian poetry, from my own books, and it didn't come through the sound. But today I'll try to do better. But last week's take was okay. The rest of it was okay. It was only a couple of minutes that went silent. And finally, I will also do some songs, as usual, the lyrics of songs, but we'll sing them first. And I just want to remind people that on Tuesdays from 11:25 to 12:30, I have Italian lessons on, and I'm using these poems and songs in order to delve into the Italian grammar. And through Italian grammar, with grammar in other languages as well. So some references will be made to them as well. So basically, my work is set. I realize that, people, in order to follow me, it's like a study. So I understand that if you can become interested, and if you are interested in Italian literature, learning Italian, contact me, and we'll have a chat about it. Okay, now we are there at 7:30 exactly, and it's Canto 10 from Inferno, Dante Alighieri. Here we go. Ora sen va per un segreto calle tra il muro della terra ali martiri, lo mio maestro io dopo le spalle. So they walking down into the circles of hell after this in the city of Dite. And of course, Dante follows Virgilio. And he asks him, once he is going down, and there are martyrs, it's like a cemetery. La Terra is the citadel, but the citadel with tombs. So we're talking about going through a cemetery, literally. An interesting one. O virtù somma che per gli empi giri mi volvi, cominciai, come a te piace, parlami e soddisfammi a miei desiri. So, Virgilio, talk to me and tell me what's all this about. La gente che per i sepolcri giace potrebbe essi veder? Già sono levati tutti i coperchi e nessun guardia face. Here we are, we're going through this cemetery. All the tombs are opened. There's no top. And there are no guards here. What's happening? E quelli a me, Virgilio replies, tutti saranno serrati quando di Iosafat qui torneranno coi corpi che lassù hanno lasciati. So, all of these people here are in the tomb, and their body will come back to them in the final judgment, the universal judgment, in the valley of Iosafat. So that's where when everything finishes for everybody, that's the final judgment, the ultimate judgment. These particular souls will pick up their human bodies as well, and at that time, I think they will have the top of the tomb put down. E quelli a me tutti saranno serrati quando di Iosafat qui torneranno coi corpi che lassù hanno lasciati. Suo cimitero da questa parte hanno, con Epicuro tutti i suoi seguaci che l'anima col corpo morta fanno. So, amongst all these people here are all the people who follow Epicurean, in other words, people who believe in having a good time in life, don't believe in the afterlife, and therefore, because they don't believe, they can't go anywhere else. They are there, and they will be punished in that way. They'll get exactly what, you enjoyed yourself in life, okay? You don't believe in God and the soul, okay? Then you stay where you are, in that tomb, forever. And look at what sort of a tomb it is. We're going to find out. Però alla domanda che mi facci, qui centro soddisfatto sarà tosto e al di sì ancor che tu mi taci. Però alla domanda che mi facci, qui centro soddisfatto, I'm answering you, ok? O tosco per la città del fuoco vivo, ten vai così parlando onesto, piacciati di restare in questo loco. La tua loquela ti fa manifesto di quella nobile patria natio e la qual forse fui troppo molesto. So, someone from the tomb erected, he says, buon duca, non tegno riposto a te mio cuore, se non per dicer poco e tu mai non pur mo a ciò disposto. O tosco, o toscano, so a guy from Florence, what are you doing here? Subitamente questo suono uscì ad una delle arche, però m'accostai temendo un poco più al duco mia. So Dante was surprised. This guy is sort of erected on a tomb halfway, like a statue. He says, "O Tosco, oh, what are you doing here?" And so, Dante's a bit scared, and he says to his maestro, to Virgilio, ed él mi disse, volgiti, che fai? Vedi là, Farinata, che sei dritto dalla cintola in su, tutto il vedrai. So what are you doing, Dante? Can't you recognize him? That's Farinata. Farinata degli Uberti. He's the fiorentino. Manente degli Uberti, detto Farinata, capopartito ghibellino, già menzionato nel primo segmento politico del poema. Cavalcante dei cavalcanti del poeta Guido. So there are two souls in this particular tomb. And the two souls are Farinata degli Uberti and Cavalcante dei Cavalcanti, who was the father of one of Dante's very good friends and also a literary figure in Florence. So Virgilio says, come on, turn around, look, there he is. Io avevo già il mio viso nel suo fitto ed el sergea col petto e con la fronte come n'avesse l'inferno accanto spetto. Farinata is a tough individual, arrogant, looking after his own, a true political figure, one who believes in what he does and he looks after his own. That's it, that's Farinata. So before we even meet him, he's there with his arrogance, with his, this figura di gran comandante. That's what Farinata is. It's incredible. E io mi avevo già il mio viso nel suo fitto ed el sergea col petto e con la fronte come avesse l'inferno accanto spetto. As if he didn't care about hell. Ah, I'm here, ok. E l'animose man del duca al pronte mi pinsero tra le sepolture a lui, dicendo, le parole tue sien conte. So, your words, come on, let's have a good chat here. Come io al piede della sua tomba fui, so I got close to his tomb, guardòmi un poco e poi quasi sdegnoso mi dimandò, chi forli maggior tui? Who were your people? Io che era d'ubbidir desideroso, non glielo celai, ma tutto gliela persi, ond'ei levò le ciglia un poco in su. So Dante didn't dare not tell him exactly who he was and which political party he belonged to. Poi disse, fieramente furono avversi a me, ai miei primi, a mia parte, sì che per due fiate li dispersi. So this guy here, Farinata degli Uberti, actually won a war, a local war against Dante's side. And his side then wanted to, this is local politics. I don't really know much about Florence politics at this stage. You have to go really into it to study it. I'm only reading this and showing my great ignorance about the mechanism with which Dante writes his poem. And it is about his times. So unless you get a lot more out of the poem if you go into the various sides, the various angles that he tackles throughout his writing of the Canti. And Farinata did win, but his side wanted to, wanted to divide Florence into many parts so that the Guelphs wouldn't, because they were, Firenze was a Guelph city in a way. And they said, I Ghibellini, they were on the part of, anti-pope sort of thing. And the Guelphs, and he said, since I won, my side said, let's knock out all the walls in Florence and let's, but Farinata said, no, you can't. We will be in Florence ourselves and we will govern. Of course he didn't, because the other side won. But here we go, this is the interesting part. Poi disse, fieramente furono avversi a me e a miei primi e a mia parte, sì che per due fiate li dispersi. Sei fur cacciati e tornar d'ogni parte, risposi io a lui, l'una e l'altra fiate, ma i vostri non appresero ben quell'arte. So in other words, okay, you won, yeah, sure. But then we came back and we got knocked you out, but you didn't learn, how we did it to come back from a loss, turn that into a win. you who lost actually stayed out. So it's sort of un battibecco here, replying to Farinata. Allora sorse alla vista scoperchiata. So here we have the other soul, Guido Cavalcanti. Allora sorse. So what he did was he came out because he was behind the tomb with Farinata degli Uberti, and Cavalcanti, he was on the other side, and they were also family members, but they hated each other. So what does Dante do? Put them together. He puts them together in the same tomb. Isn't that beautiful? But so the other one wants to know a bit more about Florence as well. So he says, allora sorse alla vista scoperchiata un'ombra, lunga questa infino al mento, credo che si era in ginocchia levate. So he had lifted up in the tomb. D'intorno mi guardò come talento avesse di veder salci era meco, e poi che il soperchiar fu tutto spento, piangendo disse, "Hey, what are you doing, Dante? Where's my..." He wants to know. He thought that Dante would be followed by his son Guido Cavalcanti. But piangendo, se per questo cieco carcere vai per altezza d'ingegno, mio figlio, ov'è? E perché non è teco? Why is he with you? I mean, you know, you obviously alto ingegno, in other words, you're obviously on the side of God, you know, why isn't my son on that side too? E io a lui, and Dante replies, da me stesso non vegno, colui che attende là, per cui mi mena, forse cui Guido vostro ebbe a disdegno. So maybe your son. So he uses the passato remoto, ebbe. And we're talking about a family of writers here. He picks up on it straight away. Le sue parole e il modo della pena m'avevano di costui già letto il nome. Però fu la risposta così piena. Di subito drizzato gridò, come dicesti, egli ebbe? Non vivelli ancora? Non fiere gli occhi suoi lo dolce lume? What are you telling me? That he's already dead and he doesn't believe, and he's going to end up here too. And all his hope of seeing his son goes, and therefore that soul there loses all hope and falls apart into the tomb again. Quando s'accorse d'alcuna dimora che io facevo dinanzi alla risposta, su più ricadde e più non parve fora. So in other words, even before I gave him the answer, he did not wait for my answer, literally. He was so distraught by what he learned about his son. But anyway, so we get, you know, Guido Cavalcanti goes down in the tomb. Farinata degli Uberti is still up, don't forget. He's still there with his arrogance. Ma quell'altro magnanimo a cui posta restato m'era, non mutò aspetto, né mosse collo, né piegò sua costa. So whilst I was talking to Guido, to Cavalcanti dei Cavalcanti, Farinata degli Uberti did not move. He remained there like a statue. E se continuando al primo detto, se li han quell'arte, disse, male appresa, ciò mi tormenta più che questo letto. Ma non 50 volte fiera accesa la faccia della donna che qui regge, che tu saprai quanto quell'arte pesa. E se tu mai nel dolce mondo regge, dimmi, perché quel popolo è sì empio, incontra i miei in ciascuna sua legge? So he then says, why all these troubles in Florence between our two parts? Why don't they do something, you know, to get together, sort of thing? Because obviously, you know, they've lost, the Ghibellini have lost. E un dia a lui, lo strage il grande scempio che fece l'arbia colorata in rosso, tal orazione far nel nostro tempio. He says, you know, what happened then can be forgiven, sort of thing. Poiché ebbe sospirando il capo mosso, a ciò non fu io sol, disse, né certo senza cangion che gli altri sarei mosso. So I didn't want really, hurt Florence in the way that my side did. I actually stood up. Ma fu io solo, only him, là dove sofferto fu per ciascuna di torre via Fiorenza, colui che la difese a viso aperto. I defended Florence in the time that I conquered my opponents. De se riposi mai vostra semanza, preghio lui, solvetemi quel modo che qui ha involuppato mia sentenza. E par che voi veggiate, se ben odo, dinanzi, quel che il tempo sequo adduce e nel presente tenete altro modo. In other words, Dante says, you seem to know your way around, the past and the future sort of thing. Why don't you tell me what's going to happen to me? Because don't forget, Dante, at this time here, is already out of Florence himself. The other side of the Gulf put him out. Noi veggiamo con quei che a mala luce le cose disse, che ne son lontano, cotanto ancor ne spende il sommo duce. Noi veggiamo come quei che a mala luce. Let me read you something. I'm going a bit ahead here. Okay, a bit of history here. Farinata degli Uberti era un nobile fiorentino capo della famiglia degli Uberti e dal 1239 alla testa dei Ghibellini cacciò i Guelfi da Firenze in 2 occasioni, prima nel 1248 e poi nel 1260, dopo aver portato le forze ghibelline alla vittoria. Nella battaglia di Montaperti, nell'occasione i ghibellini toscani avrebbero voluto radere al suolo Firenze, ma Farinata si oppose, dichiarandosi prima fiorentino e poi ghibellino. Quindi vennero compiute rappresaglie contro i Guelfi e le loro proprietà, contro le difese e le roccaforti guelfe, ma la città non venne distrutta. So that's a bit of history there. You pick up these things when you read Dante. The Dante works, the Divina Commedia generally has got a lot of notes, and it helps you to go into the history, into understanding Dante a little bit better. And I did I did this at university, but really I did not learn much. And many people have done Dante Alighieri. Unless you're really interested in it, then you go into it deeply. It's not an easy work to understand, but if you do, you get a lot of intellectual satisfaction out of it. Okay, let's go on. Quando s'appressano al son, tutto è vano. Nostro intelletto e sarci non ci apporta, nulla sapem di vostro stato umano. So, I cannot tell you. Però comprendere poi che tutta morte fia nostra conoscenza, da quel punto che del futuro fia chiusa la porta. So from the moment we are dead, we can't really, tell you what's going to happen here. Allora, come di mia colpa compunto dissi, or direte dunque a qual caduto che il suo nato e convivi ancor congiunto. E sì fui dianzi alla risposta muto, fati saper che il fei perché pensava già nell'error che mi avete soluto. So the conversation between Farinata and Dante comes to a close, and Dante does not find out from Farinata what's going to happen in Florence in the future, because he says, I don't know, I can't tell you. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. E già il maestro mio mi richiamava, insomma, il mio maestro Virgilio lo chiamava, andiamo avanti, che fai là vicino a quella tomba? Let's go, let's continue. So if you haven't understood all this, I understand that you haven't understood. Neither have I. I've got to look into the history part of it. La storia di Firenze. Google it. Chrome it. You can look it up in books anyway. But it's interesting part. That is the history of Florence is central to this work. E già il maestro mio mi richiamava, per chi pregai lo spirito più avaccio che mi dicesse chi con lui stava. Dissensi, qui con più di 1000 giaccio, qua dentro è il secondo Federico e il cardinale di altri mi taccio. he says, well, but how many, which are the people that live amongst you in these tombs here? Because don't forget, questi sono gli epicurei and the people, and the eretici. The eretici don't really commit physical sins. It's in the mind. So the Epicurean, they live for the day. They enjoy life. They don't believe in a soul. There's no, and this problem of is there a soul was also tackled already in ancient Greece. Some people did not believe then, and they still don't believe now. Some people don't believe. Full stop. That's the way it is. And so they say, who's there? And he says, qui con più di 1000 giaccio, I'm here with thousands of them. Qua dentro è il secondo Federico e il cardinale. And so, il secondo Federico, I think he's referring to Frederick II, emperor, who the Pope made walk for days and days in the snow before he saw him. E il cardinale and cardinals. E degli altri mi taccio, and there are others, and I'm not going to tell you anymore. In queste cose, io inver l'antico poeta volsi passi, ripensando a quel parlare che mi parea nemico. So, here I've got the usual problem that I have whenever I talk too much and I don't look after my computer. I've got to go back. Let me see. One. Okay, there we are. Yeah, I have to look at the time. Yeah, we're doing all right. So here we are. Dante is away from Farinata. So most of the canto is about Farinata degli Uberti and Guido Cavalcanti and the heretics and the Epicureans. And so this is the entrance. I think it's, well, apart from the tombs, don't forget, these tombs here, the top part is open, but inside, I haven't mentioned it, it's full of flames. It's like going into a Padula, it's really with fires. So, in a very hot spot in that. They're literally burning in hell in the tombs. And don't forget, when the universal judgment will arrive, these souls will have their bodies back and they will be in the tomb burning forever. Wow. In disascose io inver l'antico poeta volsi passi, ripensando a quel parlar che mi parea nemico. And quel parlar di Farinata che mi parea nemico. So he had such arrogance in his voice that he made Dante have fear in his heart. Egli si mosse e poi così andando mi disse, perché se tu sei smarrito? Why are you so lost? E io li soddisfeci al suo dimando. La mente tua conservi quel qu'udito hai contro te, mi comandò quel saggio, e ora attendi qui, e drizzò il dito. So keep the words that Farinata has told you in your head. Don't forget, and don't forget with a finger. E ora attendi qui. E drizzò il dito. Quando sarai dinanzi al dolce raggio di quella il cui bell'occhio tutto vede, da lei saprai di tua vita il viaggio. So you asked Farinata, he couldn't tell you, but when you get to Beatrice, because che da lei saprai di tua vita il viaggio, il cui bell'occhio tutto vede. That's Beatrice, that's Dante's friend. He loved Beatrice, but she was married to somebody else. And she died young. And she's in paradise. And this week I met someone who doesn't believe in hell, purgatory, or paradise. He says, it doesn't matter what you do in life. You begin and you finish. So, these are the challenges when we talk to each other and we're trying to explain the afterlife. Nobody's come back. Christ came back, but he could, and then he went away. But he didn't hang around either. He just went. So either you believe or you don't. Appresso mossa a man sinistro il piede, lasciammo il muro e gimmo in ver lo mezzo per un sentier ca una valle fiede, che in fin là su facea spiacer suo lezzo. So here we are in the sixth circle of hell. Now, obviously, Virgilio says, come on, let's go. We're going to go further down, further down. He wants to go through hell so that he can bring Dante to purgatory, and then to paradise. Then his Virgilius' job finishes at the end of Purgatorio. We have to wait a long time before I get there, because every Sunday now, till then, this is Canto 10. There are 33 cantos in hell. So we've got another 23 weeks of hell here. For me, I have to continue. And regardless of how many people watch, I am really absolutely delighted that a few people come on occasionally. And, it's great for me to actually have you around. It gives me hope and encouragement. And I hope you enjoy this, because reading Dante's Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso will enrich your life. I'm sure of it. So Virgilio finishes there, 757. I just want to read you a bit about the Epicuro. Epicuro was born in 341 years before the birth of Christ, and died in 270 avanti Cristo, 30 years plus 4. He died at the age of 71. Fu un filosofo greco. La sua dottrina, his doctrine, che da lui prende il nome di epicureismo, si basava su principi materialistici. Per Epicuro il mondo è eterno e tutto ciò che esiste è prodotto dall'interazione degli atomi. Gli dei non puniscono o ricompensano gli uomini per le loro azioni, né esercitano alcuna influenza sulla terra. So, Epicurus says, everything is in the universe. God's got nothing to do with all this. It's all there for them too, and, they don't exercise power over us, the people, the gods, if you like. L'anima non è immortale. That's what he believes. È l'uomo che deve cercare la felicità nei piaceri terreni, pur vissuti con moderazione. So, Epicureo says, enjoy life, don't go overboard, but enjoy life. The pleasures of this world here are important whilst you live. He didn't believe in the souls, etc. So, Epicureo. So, he's put, all the people believe in that, are put in Canto 10. Dante identifica come seguaci di Epicuro tutti coloro che negano l'immortalità dell'anima. So anyone who denies the immortality of the soul are part of this group of people, of humans, who who follow the Epicurean philosophy. Il pensatore è punito nell'inferno nonostante sia vissuto prima di Cristo. So the thinker is punished even in hell, even though he lived before the coming of Christ on earth. Perché già nella filosofia greca, already in Greek philosophy, l'anima veniva considerata immortale. So already the Greek classics, the soul was immortal. And that's where all this literature is connected. The ideas are connected. even what we do today, a lot of our work, we go to the past and we reinterpret it into the present. And that's Canto 10. Now, there's a lot more that you can learn about Farinata degli Uberti, Guido Cavalcanti, Cavalcante dei Cavalcanti, there's a lot more to this that meets the eye. So on that note, we're at 8 o'clock exactly, and I want to go to do the other, my other parts. I want to dedicate a quarter of an hour to Italian literature, but I think today I'm going to dedicate a little bit less to it because I want to do the songs. I'm doing 4 songs. So let me have a look here. Where are we here? There we are. Okay. We do a bit of literature here because it's important. Now, last week is Italian literature after Dante. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. After Dante, there's another Francesco Petrarca and Boccaccio. They are the other 2 literary figures after Dante that really constructed the Italian language as we know it today. In other words, the vulgus, the lingua del popolo became an important language. But let's not forget the Latin kept officially kept on being used, especially by the lawmakers and the religious figures for centuries to come. So Italian did not become una lingua nazionale for a very long time. And Italian grammar constructs the language, because in Italy there are a lot of languages, and the languages in Italy, they call them dialects, but they are local languages. That's what they are, real languages. But if you don't give them importance, then you put them in a secondary category and you call them dialects. So here we go. This time here, I want to show you what happens next. Let me see. Here we go. This one here. Here is a very important Italian poet. His name is Giacomo Leopardi, and I'm going to read one of his poems called La Foglia. Have you ever asked yourself, where do the leaves go when they fall off the trees? Well, Giacomo Leopardi can tell you in this poem. Okay, here we go. La foglia. Lungi dal proprio ramo, povera foglia frale, dove vai tu? Dal faggio là dove io nacqui mi divise il vento. Esso, tornando, a volo dal bosco alla campagna, dalla valle mi porta alla montagna. Seco, perpetuamente vo pellegrina, e tutto l'altro ignoro. Va dove ogni altra cosa, dove naturalmente va la foglia di rosa e la foglia d'alloro. And many others as well, many other leaves. Okay. That was Leaves by Giacomo Leopardi. Again, is one of the great Italian poets of the 18th century. Very important poet, and it also died young, actually. Now this one here, this particular one, is of Trilussa. I have read this poem here by Trilussa many times, and I never tire of reading it again. And here it is. It's only partial, a part of the full poem, but it's the main part. Here we go. Un albero del bosco chiamò gli uccelli e fece testamento. Lascio i miei fiori al mare, lascio le foglie al vento, i frutti al sole, e poi tutti se mette a voi poveri uccelli, perché mi cantavate la canzone nella bella stagione. E voglio che gli stecchi, quando saranno secchi, facciano il fuoco per I poverelli. That's exactly what happens with poetry as well. You write it, it remains there, you go away, you're not here anymore, yet the poems actually give you a glow in someone else's heart, in all the people who read them. So Trilus, I'll come back to him on a regular basis. Well, we'll come back to him on a regular basis because it's important. Now, as I said last week at this time, I actually read three poems which I left out. And I think that today I might just fix myself up a bit better. That's it, so that I cannot risk. So I'm going to read you the poems from last week, and I'm going to do the ones from this week as well. This one here is called Valorizzata, and these are the books from here, Amica Poesia, and these are available. Valorizzato. Ti senti nel tuo cuore un senso esilarante di chi ti fa sentire veramente tanto grande. Tu sapevi che erano buone le cose che scrivevi, era il tuo passatempo e per gli altri anche un dono. Adesso hai la conferma che un po' del tuo lavoro te lo hanno apprezzato e ha fatto un bel furore. Sei fortunato d'aver avuto delle circostanze a tuo favore. Ringrazia tutti coloro che ti hanno dato onore. Notice that my language is so very understandable because I write in a simple way, and this is the influence the influence of English that's had on the way I write in Italian. And this one is called Il poeta resta. E l'uomo impara e sogna sempre, mentre la vita lestamente se ne va, e la speranza cresce con il passare del tempo, che son più belli i sogni della realtà. Gira la ruota, infatti, fa il girotondo, crescono i bimbi, i vecchi se ne vanno, però il poeta resta ancor fra tutti e brilla come le stelle nell'oscurità. The poets that remains over time, and that's those two. I won't do the other one. It doesn't matter. The other one is called Curiosità. I wanted to read you this one here, Il Signor dei Secoli, which I wrote many years ago. I'd say 40 years ago. And my son says that my writing has changed over time, which is true. It does happen, and it's the development in your own ways of expressing yourself. Il Signor dei Secoli. Corri veloce o tempo fugace, ma perché? Perché porti via con te così presto le poche gioie degli esseri senza resto? Perché non rimani un momento coi mortali che vivono contenti? Però, o tu, che vivi anche dopo il passare del sole all'Occidente, dimmi se le passioni dei mortali cambiano l'ideal dell'occhio umano. Dimmi se l'alba, dopo l'ombra della notte, riporta fresco le gioie e le speranze del passato, col dorme sotto il cipresso. Stendi la tua mano nella vita e ricorda l'or che vietato il pensare ancora, il calor della stella caduta in grembo a quel piccino del mio cuore. Fai fiorire le mie parole d'una volta nel seno a qualcun che ama ancora il dolce canto d'un uccellino antico che spiega la sua voce all'infinito. And this is the last one, and then I'll go to the songs. Io non so niente di poesia. Non l'ho vista mai, non la conosco, non l'ho incontrata, nessuno me ne ha mai parlato. Adesso ecco qua che finalmente uno mi vuole insegnare, aprire la porta alle mie emozioni. Ed io cosa faccio? Resto qui seduto e penso perché mai anch'io non provo a scoprire quel che penso, o sento, o faccio. Scrivendolo, forse un giorno lo potrò dare ad un altro. There you are. So if you do something, eventually you can give it to somebody else. And that's, talking about the Italian literature, it's important that you too do a bit of writing yourself. You never know. You might discover that, you really have a lot to say. And writing it down, you'll be able to revise it and give it to others. Important. So let me have a look now for what I thought that we'd go to the songs now, and then I'll have a bit of time to myself to talk to you. Here we go. The first one is going to be, let me see, yes, it's a song that we did many years ago at Angel's place, Angel and Dora, and we sang this song here. We've done this before, but this for a different night. Here we go.
Mamma, son tanto felice perché ritorno da te. La mia canzone ti dice che è più che il sogno per me. Mamma, son tanto felice di vivere lontano da te. Mamma, solo per te la mia canzone vola. Mamma, sarai con me, tu non sarai più sola. Quanto ti voglio bene, queste parole d'amore, che mi sospira il mio cuore, forse non te lo sarò più. Mamma, ma la canzone mia più bella sei tu. Sei tu la vita, per la vita non ti lascio mai più. Sento la mano sulla canca, cerco il mio riccio tuo, sempre la voce ti manca, la oggi la fresca tua bianca, io voglio stringere ancora. Mamma, solo per te la mia canzone vola. Mamma, sarai con me, non sarai più sola. Ma ti voglio bene, queste parole d'amore, che ti sospira il mio cuore, forse non ci sarò più. Mamma, ma la canzone mia più bella sei tu. Sei tu la vita, e per la vita non ti lascio mai più.
That song there is an important one, and we did, we've sung it a few times, and the beautiful part about that particular song is that, especially on Mother's Day, you can sing it occasionally. It gives you a glow in your heart. The next one we're going to do is called Santa Lucia. Here we go, maybe, let's see.
Sul mare luccica l'astro d'argento, la cideronda prosperuento, venica l'agile, barchetta mia, Santa Lucia. con questo zeffiro così soave. Oh, com'è bello star sulla nave, su passeggeri, venite via, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. Perché tardare, bella è la sera, spira un'auretta fresca e leggera. Venite all'agile, barchetta mia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. Oh, dolce Napoli, oh, soleato, oh, verso ridere, volle il creato, tu sei l'impero dell'armonia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia.
It's a wonderful song, this one, and used by in classes too. It's one of the old songs that have, you know, that remains popular to this very day. The next one that we're going to do is a Qui Comando Io. Yeah, we're going to do Qui Comando Io. Let's have a look.
Quelle stradelle che tu mi fai far, cara Rosina, quelle stradelle che tu mi fai far, cara Rosina, le devi pagare. E quel comando io, e questa è casa mia, ogni di voglio sapere, e qui comando io, e questa è casa mia, ogni di voglio sapere chi viene da me. Devi pagarla con sangue e dolore, finché la luna, devi pagarla con sangue e dolore, finché la luna che cambia il colore. Qui comando io, e questa è casa mia, ogni di voglio sapere, e qui comando io, e questa è casa mia, ogni di voglio sapere chi viene da me. Quando la luna la cambia il colore, vieni che l'ora, quando la luna la cambia il colore, vieni che l'ora per fare l'amore. E questa è casa mia, e questa è casa mia, ogni di voglio sapere, e qui comando io, e questa è casa mia, ogni di voglio sapere chi viene da me.
Another one. It's a lovely song, Qui Comando Io. You know, Orietta Berti, also Giuliano Cinquetti, they all sing these songs. I've been listening to a lot of the singers, and they all are very, very good with going through the Italian singing repertoire over the last 50 years, 60, 70 years. Long time now, since World War II. But really, with Domenico Modugno started it all. He was singer-songwriter, and then after that, you know, Italian Italian music and song changed course a little bit. Some people still think that the older ones are so much better, and you know, that's how it is. Now, this one here, where is it? There's another one here that I wanted to show. I think this one here is called La Romanina from Rome. Nice one.
Cantando, viendo al Gianicolazzone, ti dà un'occhiata passando, ti mette il fuoco nel cuore, e tutta Roma si canta, ognuno le canta, dicendo così, lasciatela passare, la bella Romanina, e tutti fa incantare, intanto che cammina, ti fa provare la scossa, con gli occhi d'assassina, la bella Romanina, lasciatela passare. Quando la gente straniera guarda la bella romana, sente sbocciarsi in galera, sente che il cuore si sanna, e ci mangiato si canta, e il cuore le canta dicendo così. Che cammina, ti fa provare la scossa, con gli occhi d'assassina, la bella Romanina, lasciatela passare.
Well, those are the songs that I've selected for this week. Mamma, Santa Lucia, Qui Comando Io, and La Romanina. Plenty of Italian songs, that's for sure. Now, I've got time now. A bit of revision of what we've been doing is worthwhile. And the idea of all these programs too is that eventually, after lockdown, we can meet somewhere. Now, I've approached a couple of Italian clubs over the years, and maybe we should be able to, to have some meeting somewhere. So if anyone is watching these programs and they want to meet, then maybe ask questions or learn some of these songs, sing some of these songs together of a Sunday afternoon. That's the best time, I was thinking about 3:30 till about 5, something like that. We can create a little group of people interested in Dante Alighieri, in Italian songs, poetry, also the Italian language itself. But more than anything else, I think we need to meet each other so that people, especially people who have, iPhones, for example. I have an iPhone 11, so we can share the knowledge about technology, because the telephone now is like our own personal office, and it's important that in order for us to access each other's whatever we do. If you want to watch someone else, do it. If you, this is a way to meet. It's actually a good way to meet each other and then to actually pursue the interests in Italian language and literature and culture. So that's the main thing. The other one that I want to talk about is the actual idea of learning a language. Learning a language is really tutta pratica. It's the practice. La pratica batte la grammatica. But without la grammatica, you can't improve your language. So even if you speak it, pursuing a knowledge of grammar actually allows you to improve whatever you already know. And that's where I come in. I have been involved in languages for a long time and also other languages. And I can tell you that through the bookshop that I have, Insegna Booksellers, what happens is that I've been able to look at the grammar of 20 languages and more. So there is a pattern in languages: English, Italian, French, Hindi, Turkish, Chinese, regardless of the language and regardless of the type of alphabet that these languages have, the idea of knowing language, the mechanics of language is important. When you talk about, we talk about the articles, the nouns, adjectives. Even in the way Dante writes, there are words there. You can actually work out the way he's put the words together, the structure, and it's pretty elaborate. But the way I write my own poetry is very simple, in the sense that because I've taught children, young children in secondary schools, from year 7 to year 12, and also adults, but really the idea is that it's at that middle level. My preparation is more for that level rather than for the erudite university education, because in universities a lot of the work is left to the student because they're old enough to go and do their own research and improve their own skills. So in other words, even the lecturers, for example, they're not called teachers, they're called lecturers, because that's exactly what they do, what I'm doing now. I don't have students, I just concentrate on what I have prepared, and give it out. And then it's up to whoever to pick up or ignore it. And that's, in a university, that's what happens. No one tells you that you have to do this. You're there because you want to do it. So if you think, you think, I want to do that, and then you don't work, you're just fooling yourself. And that's why some people then drop out, because they realise, I really don't want to do this. But in order to get to the end, to the end of the journey, of the educational journey, to actually get the piece of paper, you've got to finish what you started in the manner in which other people have organised. The knowledge doesn't stop there, it keeps going. Then there are, as you move on in life and you've got your own jobs, if you want to find things out, you can. And modern technology is such an advantage for all of us. Even though some people talk badly about it, I find that it's an incredibly enriching experience for the individual who uses it properly. Because some people misuse it, and that's no good. It's essentially a very good tool. And I'm so grateful that I can do these live shows on Facebook, because I can tell you, 30 years ago, I spent thousands of dollars getting people to film, what I was doing, because I wanted to do the plays and the cultural afternoons and the books, whatever. It honestly used to cost a lot. Now everything, the cost of educating, in other words, presenting your work to others is minimal, and it's a wonderful tool, not to be underestimated. So on that note, I've been very happy to share these thoughts with you right at the end. And on that note, I thank you if you've been watching, and if you haven't, during the week, you can catch up. Ciao until next Sunday. And don't forget, Tuesday, Italian lesson, and Thursday evening, it's world history. Buonanotte a tutti. Ciao, da TomPadula.